What is a high skill cap character and why should it win? Moreover, what are the situations that arise that make a high skill cap character not win? Today's video will be delving into the topic of high skill threshold characters, meaning characters that allow a player's skill to take precedent over winning a matchup. Higher skill cap characters often provide a player with more tools. What this means is that lower skill players will less often choose the correct tool for the correct moment, whereas higher skilled and more experienced players will more consistently choose the correct option. It's like a multiple choice question on a history test. If you know a lot about history, that multiple choice could be 99 options. The people who have studied more, who know more about history, more capable students will be able to answer that question more consistently than the students who are only prepared for a 1 through 4 multiple choice. Although this metaphor doesn't apply to everything, it is a good example to showcase how higher skill set champions allow players more variability in terms of what they're going to do in that specific moment. A lower skill cap champion and a higher skill cap champion have one distinct difference, and that is the amount of decisions you need to make when playing either one. Mechanical skill does come into play, and that can add to the degree of difficulty, but in terms of the highest skill ceilings, it usually comes into somebody having more options to deal with and a harder time to make the perfect choice for that moment. Along with mechanical skills such as a weapon being difficult to fire, positioning because of inherent weaknesses can also lend to a champion being higher skill cap. For instance, a champion with no movement skills or no mobility whatsoever will be higher skill cap to perform consistently well versus a champion who has 3 dashes and a teleport, in most cases anyway. Let's move into an example. The footage you've been watching is of a high skill cap champion, one of the highest in Paladins, Mal Damba. He's a healer who has 2 options of how to heal. Through his mending spirits, his right click, which is a hit scan heal, mechanically difficult to hit as well, plus a gourd, which not only does healing to his teammates when they stand in it, but damage to the enemy team. Players playing Mal Damba have to decide what heal each teammate gets, if they get both, or if they want to use one of their heals not to heal, but to do damage, or try to compromise and heal and do damage by throwing it in the perfect place. Not only is the mechanical difficulty high, but it's a split-second decision that can often mean your teammate's survival or death. But that's not all. Mal Damba's weapon shots are rather odd and are affected by gravity more so than most other champions. They're atypical for a shooter, and players with more experience on Mal Damba will hit these shots more consistently than a novice player. Not only that, whenever Mal Damba reloads, he throws his snake out onto the battlefield, and if it hits an enemy, it will stun them. And the damage that the stun does is increased the more ammo is consumed before he reloads, meaning that a maximum damage stun would come after he is completely out of ammo, and a minimal damage stun, although the stun is the same, would come after he shoots 1 basic attack and then reloads to go back to 10 ammo. So while players are deciding whether they use their right click to heal a teammate, throw their gourd down to heal a teammate, or damage enemies, they're also shooting their basic attacks and attempting to reload, deciding whether it's more important to do damage or if it's more important to reload and try to stun and lock down an enemy for your teammates to follow up, or even Mal Damba to follow up. Not to mention, he can also cancel his reload by taking any other action, such as throwing a gourd, using his movement ability Slither, or using his mending spirits, which allows for fainting stuns, or just realizing that you shouldn't be trying to stun and a heal is more important rather than locking down an enemy. Mal Damba's movement skill also allows him complete immunity from damage, from crowd control, from anything that might affect him, meaning that he can save it for the perfect moment to avoid that crucial bit of CC or big burst that can swing a team fight. But when do you use it? Which damage is most important? What crowd control do you most need to avoid? All decisions that Mal Dambas have to make. It only lasts for a brief moment and it doesn't travel very far, meaning that the direction you slither also is extremely important for you surviving a fight. Add on to the fact that his ultimate is an AoE fear, and you have a lot more decisions a good Mal Damba has to make. Do you save your ultimate for the end of the round, fear everyone away from the payload cart, and allow it to sneak into conversion as we see in high level play all the time? Or do you wait till somebody engages with you with a king bomb, throw your dread serpent right before you get stunned, and not allow him to follow up with his own damage? Maybe you use it to initiate your own team fight and have an Androxus accursed arm enemies that are running away in fear. The decisions are endless. You see what I'm saying? Given the amount of decisions to make, it's no wonder that Mal Damba, when played at the highest level, can be one of the most effective healers. He's got 2 heals, he's got a fear, he's got immunity to damage, he's got a stun on his reload, for crying out loud. But it's also why we often can never see him maximize to his full potential in casual games. Newer players who don't have as much experience with Mal Damba will never be able to play like the highest level Mal Dambas in Paladins. When you compare this with a champion like Ying, who all she does is press Q and her clones auto heal targets who get low, you can see how there's much less decisions and much less room for error for those who play that champion. And to be honest, Ying is a very high skill cap champion, but not because of her healing, because of her dimensional link being one of the most unique, interesting, and I think difficult movement skills to master in any first-person shooter I've ever seen. There's a lot of min-maxing with Ying, but in terms of high skill cap, I wouldn't quite say many of her abilities lend her to be that type of champion. Thus, you'll see at the highest level of play, most of the time, the best Mal Damba is out-healing the best Yings. But does this always happen in video games? Sometimes the highest skill cap champions don't see the prize money at the end of the day and are left in the bottom ends of the tournaments. Why is that? For this, let's take a look at Injustice. Recently at Combo Breaker 2017, Injustice 2 held their first pro circuit tournament, featuring a lot of well-known names such as Echo Sonic Fox. Sonic ended up being the winner of the tournament, playing mostly Deadshot and Black Adam, two champions that are exceptionally good at zoning, but not many would say are high skill cap. In fact, I think many would say that there are multiple characters in Injustice 2 that are higher skill cap to be effective with than Black Adam or Deadshot, but they didn't win. Why? It's the same reason that Ying was ever prioritized over Mal Damba, and no, not when she had insane healing with the lifelike legendary. Ying was a part of a deathball meta, including Barrack as the frontrunner who had shields, turrets, and a huge dome shield that bought them so much time and just entrenched him on the point. Unlike Mal Damba, Ying's clones acted as bulldozers, but they also acted as safe houses, things to stand behind and things to shoot, so much so that there were 6 things standing on the point: Ying, 2 of her clones, Barrack, and 2 of his turrets, and that's not including Barrack's shield or Barrack's dome shield. I liked to call this combination the deployable nightmare, because it created too many things to shoot at for players in too little time. It also was a combination of things that just weren't countered by Wrecker, which was the most important offensive item, and Bulldozer, which did counter it, was often overlooked and just not worth the value. Since Barrack was so good and Death Balls were so good, Ying became much better in terms of a synergistic healer and more effectiveness overall than a Mal Damba in her place. Deadshot and Black Adam are taking advantage of a meta in Injustice 2 that favors zoning. Champions who can zone well have great defensive and offensive capabilities and are inherently just stronger and easier to use. Thus, higher skill cap champions, maybe like Blue Beetle, who didn't have a lot of success, though some pros tried to use him, just were ineffective because they couldn't keep up with what the meta was calling for. With no rushdown and with no zoning, you have no way to keep up with Deadshot or Black Adam's damage and defense. Thus, the situation becomes more important than your high skill cap champion. Only when Ying received significant nerfs and the meta shifted away from the death ball compositions did Mal Damba start to see the coveted first pick consistently. And now that Ceres has been introduced into the realm, her and Mal Damba maintain the top 2 healing spots. Despite Ying and Ceres both having runs for first and second place, even Grok being prioritized, Mal Damba has consistently stayed at the top, and this is because the highest level players have always been able to make do with him. He gives the best of the best the ability to outplay their opponents, even when situations may not be in their favor, and I think this is how things should be. Higher skill cap champions allow for more variability, more interesting plays, and give higher level players in esports and in ranked play more control over the outcome of their games. Any semblance of control you can provide in a competitive experience allows for players to feel better about their losses and much better about their wins. The issue with designing a champion that's very high skill cap is making him still casual friendly for the masses to enjoy and use, and not just throw away because they don't see any of his potential. Because of Mal Damba's champion design and visual treatment, I think he's become a fan favorite for many healers, not just the highest skilled ones. And Ying has always been loved by casuals and higher level players as well. Though Deadshot and Black Adam excelled at zoning for Sonic Fox at Combo Breaker, he also was prepared to hit combos, showing off that he was a higher skilled player and maximizing those champions to the degree that they could be maximized. At the end of the day, competition is about finding out what works and making it work for you. Playing a high skill cap character doesn't give you any brownie points in terms of a win or a loss. You gotta play what's going to get you the W at the end of the day, and people understand that, especially the highest level competitors. But from a game design standpoint, as I learn more and more about this field, I can only encourage more high skill cap champions to be developed across all games. I wonder, do you feel the same way? What are your favorite types of champions in MOBAs, first-person shooters, fighting games, and are they high skill cap or not? What do you think is the right balance for high skill cap champions in a certain game? Should 15%, 30%, 50% or more be high skill cap? Should they cater more towards casual and leave just a few to be maximized by the best of the best? Ultimately, MOBAs, first-person shooters, fighting games, and the like will all need to cater to their own communities and do what's right for them. But as a man who strives for the highest level of play, competition, and also casts that level frequently, I'd love to see more champions that allow me to delve deeper, to spend more hours, and to see better and more exciting results from my play. Thanks for watching this analysis on high skill cap champions. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content here at Raynday Gaming. As always, remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and I'll see you all next time.